The Finals is the most innovative and fun FPS game released in years. It really is so much fun, with things being possible in this game that simply aren't possible in any other game. But unfortunately, the Steam reviews, although now showing mostly positive, have been brought down by a lot of negative voices. To my mind, this game deserves overwhelmingly positive reviews, so if you agree with what I'm saying in this video, maybe consider leaving them a positive review on Steam. I recognise in making this video I'm going to get a lot of hate in the comments. It's an unfortunate part of making YouTube videos and it's a shame. But if you've been reading the reviews and you can't understand where they're coming from, then I'm with you. I'm going to unpack all the things I love in the Finals to defend this brilliant game. The first thing I love about the Finals are just the fun moments. Be it whether you're playing light and you're kind of grappling around, or you're evasive dashing around, you're just shooting all over the place, you're slicing people with the cutlass. I don't know what it is you're doing, but when you're playing as light, there's a lot of fast movement. When you're playing as medium, equally, there's a lot of fun to be had just literally in helping people. Using the AK, there's a very different feel to it, but both things are fun. And then of course, as heavy, you can just smash buildings to the ground. It's absolutely incredible the amount of things that you can do differently on each class. And across the maps, there's so many different fun moments, like be it with the crane, be it with massive jump pads on Skyway Stadium. It just feels really, really fun. And there's a lot of unique moments to this game that you just don't see in many other games. For example, picking up, a canister and launching it across the map at a building to smash a hole in the building and then charge through it. It's very, very cool. I like the goo. The goo is very unique. Big goo moments going off the doors. Sometimes you have a crazy heavy teammate who's got the goo gun just going completely wild, and it's just quite funny. But the thing about the moments that I really enjoy, you can read into this, maybe you can relate, it's just that the moments are very unique. It's kind of like only in Battlefield, but of course only in the Finals. I absolutely love the pure carnage and chaos that happens in this game. It's complete insanity a lot of the time. Sometimes you are surrounded by a wall of goo, right? You're throwing a sonar grenade, you're getting pings off, there's just complete insanity, complete chaos, and everything's already chaotic, and then the building starts coming down. It's completely crazy, and it's just complete and utter chaos. But the thing that I love about it is there's things you can do to counteract the chaos. There's things you can do to kind of rebuild structure with goo grenades. There's things you can do like dropping shields to defend yourself. There's always something you can do to counteract the carnage and chaos. Maybe not always, sometimes there isn't, but mostly there's a lot of carnage, a lot of chaos, but you can still play around it and you can still manipulate and use the environment to your advantage. For example, if a building starts coming down, well, then you need to climb to the top of it. There's all these sorts of little things. Or if you're down below, you can hide by the cash out point, sneaking under a wall that's fallen in or something. But the thing is, the carnage and chaos, it's just incredible. It's just so fun to see environments so like dynamic in the way they change. The environments change so much throughout the game. And that means that it doesn't feel repetitive, because each time you get to a cash out point, who knows what could happen. The fact there's this destruction, the destructible environments, it means that it's always a little bit different each time you play it. And that's really, really cool. I love the sheer range of ways to play this game. So for example, I really love playing as heavy, but I also love playing as medium. But I love the way the different classes play differently, and they're clearly well balanced against one another. So the light players, for example, extremely high damage weapons, but they're much more vulnerable to attack because of their HP. Now a good light player won't just be running in crazily towards a group of 3 and then dying. A good light player will be kind of playing around, not getting too much kind of damage taken. And a good medium player, for example, will always be looking to support their teammates, be it with the healing beam, be it with the turrets around the sites. They're always trying to offer the support to the other players, and that can then empower the light player to play more effectively. And if, like me, you're a bit of a team player, you probably really enjoy that feeling of when you get a good heal off, or when you keep somebody alive, or when you defib someone back into the game, and then they're there and they're back in the fight. That to me is a really cool feeling as medium. And then as heavy, of course, you can enter sites, you can blow up, floors and bring cash out points down. You can manipulate the environment way more if you're a heavy player. You can smash through walls. It doesn't matter if someone's got mines on it, because you can just RPG it, to pieces. So there's clear different ways of playing the game, and I love how they interact. We still don't know yet what the best thing to do is, and I suspect the way that the game is built, and I love the balance between it. I think the beautiful thing about it is that I think you could always kind of build a different way of playing with each class to counteract the more dominant things that the other classes have. And I think that balance and that range of ways to play the game makes it really, really fun, because you can run a few games as medium, run a few games as heavy, run a few games as light, depending. I always choose my class based on what the other people are in the game. If I have 2 mediums, then I might consider playing heavy or light. Or if there's nobody with a healing beam, well, I'm probably going to be medium and use a healing beam. I love that there's this kind of way that you can adapt to your team and try to be a better teammate and bring more to the table. And I think that the game enables you to do that with these range of ways to play. I think it's great. The movement in general as well is just so well balanced between them. You know, like the heavy players are tanks, so they move slowly. The light players are extremely like weak, so they move very fast. They can get away quickly. A good light player will always be on the move. And I think that that's a really cool feature as well, is that there's clearly different pacings to each game. And I think that the movement in particular is really good. And it is the same as the beta, by the way, but it just feels perfect. I love the TTK. The TTK is really good. The time to kill, for those of you who don't know what that means, it just means how long it takes for you to die. I feel like it's absolutely right on the money and well balanced across players. And I think that the AK, for example, it takes a good amount of skill to get a kill. You can't also chain like 2 or 3 kills together. I think it would be ruined if there was, for example, a secondary gun. I think that it makes sense that there's just one weapon and you have to make it count. And then you've got your equipment and stuff like that as well to also use. I think it would be really bad to have secondaries. I think it makes a lot of sense just having that one weapon, and the TTK is right there. I think it's perfectly balanced. The game is just visually beautiful. Like, that's one thing that we cannot deny. The game just looks so nice. And I think it's incredible that you have these brilliantly well-designed maps, 4 of them. And they're very unique in their own way. Some of them they play very differently. Vegas seems to play a lot indoors, quite a lot of close quarters kind of combat. The others are a bit different. Monaco can be quite open, so can Seoul. Seoul's got and Seoul and Skyway Stadium have the moving cash out points around the map, floating above the map, which creates a completely different feel to those maps. I think that not only are they very well designed, but they're just visually very nice. And especially when it comes to the different times of day, the different weather settings, the dynamic weather, all these things, and having that free to play across all of that. These maps are genuinely better to play than they're more fun to play than I've got on like paid games where I paid 60, 70 pounds for a game. The maps just are so beautiful and they play so well. The zip lines and jump pads and ways of moving around them are also brilliant. Like, it just feels good. I remember like reading this thing about like the Halo devs were talking about the early Halo games. And they said the thing they prioritized was that movement should be balanced. Like, you can always counteract where somebody is. Nowhere's too overpowered. But the big thing about that they also focused on, not just that, was just that it should just be just fun to move around the map. You know, in Halo you had things like the man cannon. Here you've got these huge jump pads, you've got the zip lines, just really cool, and it does feel genuinely fun and kind of exhilarating to move around the map. I like the range of modes, so I much prefer the tournament games because there is this range where in the first few games you have 4 teams and then in the final game you have a 1v1. I think that's really cool because when you finally get to that end game, it feels really intense to be in it. And of course, because it's just one team versus another team, it's really fun because it's like one team sets up and then the other team only has a few opportunities to try and break that setup. And I think that's a really cool feature. Again, there's some games of old that used to be like that. I mean, in particular, you think of like CSGO where teams are set up on defense, or you know, you think about Halo is kind of more similar, I would say, because on that one you had things like King of the Hill where people had like setups on the map and you could wipe a full team and then they got to come back and try and break your setup. It just reminds me a lot of the games I've really loved to play before, where there is just that like intensity and then that down period where a team either defends well or they don't. And I like the way that feels. One thing I love about the game is when you have a good teammate who clearly also loves team games and you're working well together and you're healing each other. You're not even necessarily talking to one another, but you're just on the same page. This game is a game for people who love to play team games. And when you do get aligned with those people, this game is so much fun. If you have like 3 people, you know, using classes that benefit one another. So for example, an opposite example of that is 3 light players and they're all running around the map doing nothing. 3 medium players with healing beams and defibs playing around one another is just so fun. Or like 2 mediums and a heavy. The heavy is just entering rooms. The medium players are kind of just supporting and doing damage as well. It's so much fun. I think a lot of the negativity might actually stem from that because people aren't necessarily familiar with team games and they're more used to maybe solo queuing on Call of Duty multiplayer, for example, and they're not used to the fact that it's not just about what you do with your throwing knives and what you do with your clips. It's more about how do I be a good teammate? And you have to kind of consciously, constantly think in your head, how can I be a better team player? And that'll make you enjoy these sorts of games so much more. I think the number one thing though that I love about this game, the thing that I think is just such a breath of fresh air, is that it's innovative. It's a brand new, it's free to play. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. It's not a BR, it's not an arena multiplayer. It's a completely new and unique game that combines elements of those games. It combines elements of like King of the Hill, elements of Team Slayer at times, elements that we've seen in other games, destruction like we've seen in Battlefield. It brings the best of a lot of really good games, like for example Classes from Overwatch. It seems to borrow the best, or is inspired by the best of the FPS genre out there, and kind of brings it together into this brand new feeling mechanic. And then also the fact that it's set in this kind of like game show kind of theme as well is also a really, really cool feature. I think it makes it feel really good. It almost has like vibes. It reminds me, it's almost as if you're playing like in the Capitol in the Hunger Games. That's what it sometimes feels like. And with the dome as well, it's very Hunger Gamesy as well. And I think that's just, it just feels really new. And that to me is really nice, because like, for example, with Warzone 3, for example, I know they're not calling it Warzone 3, but a new Warzone map, it's like, well, I've played Warzone for 3 years. And so one thing I'm just genuinely loving about this game is it's just something new, and it's just something fun to play, and it's free. I'm not saying that people aren't right to have, you know, genuine feelings of negativity towards a game when they're justified. For example, you hear these things about Oceanic servers. They don't have any good servers down there. You hear of some people saying they've died to hackers. Of course, we don't like hackers. I've streamed this game for hours. You can watch it on my YouTube channel. I haven't played against one hacker. The servers have been working really well, apart from a few times when they dropped for not even 10 minutes. You know, they're straight back. I'm not saying there's not any reason to be negative, but I just wanted to come on here and say this is what I love about the game, and send a message to the devs to say, don't necessarily listen to the noise and bow to it. Just know that a lot of people who love this game will not be making YouTube videos. They won't be leaving comments on Steam. They'll just be loving this game and enjoying it. So don't listen too much to that really loud minority who might have their own problems with the game. There are, of course, justified reasons for not liking the game, but a lot of those negative reviews, if you look through them, in my opinion, they just look very unfair. So I wanted to come on here, defend the game. If you guys agree with me, let me know in the comments. If you don't, that's fair enough. Maybe go easy on me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.